Good morning, children. Welcome back to your history class. In our previous lesson, we learnt about the ancient Indian culture. Today, let us begin with a new lesson and learn about the mutual exchange between the Indian civilization and other civilizations. We will also understand how human knowledge is enriched by a give and take of ideas and by cultural exchange. The name of the lesson is Ancient India and the World. India had economic and cultural exchanges with the outside world. Children, in our previous history lesson, we have already learnt that many invaders like the Greeks, Iranian rulers, etc., visited India with an intention to rule over the country. They developed trade relations with the countries of the West. Along with trade, people also exchanged their culture, traditions, customs, etc. Buddhism spread to Afghanistan and many countries of Central Asia. The Greek historians introduced India to the Western world through their teachings. The Greeks introduced their art of sculpture in India. A new form of art emerged during the Kushana period called the Gandhara school of art, as artists and sculptors from Greece and India exchanged ideas. Routes to India were now opened for trade between India and the countries of the West. In the Gandhara school of art, images of Gautam Buddha were mainly carved. Look at your screen. You can see some specimen of the Gandhara style. Statue of Gautam Buddha in a museum in Paris. Sculpture in the Gandhara style on a stupa at Hadda in Afghanistan. The facial features shown in Gandhara style is similar to those of the Greek people. The early Indian coins were like Greek coins. Archaeological excavations at Arikemedu in Tamil Nadu and at Kolhapur in Maharashtra have brought to light many articles made in Rome. This shows that India had trade relations with Rome. The Arab merchants carried Indian goods up to Alexandria. They were sent to various ports in Europe. Indian philosophy, science, and the concept of zero was also conveyed to Europe. Children, as you all know, Emperor Ashoka embraced Buddhism. He sent his son Mahindra and daughter Sanghamitra to Sri Lanka to spread Buddhism. The Buddhist text, Mahavamsha and Deepavamsha, written in the Pali language, gives information about the close relation between India and Sri Lanka. There was a great demand in India for Sri Lankan pearls and other precious stones. Trade and cultural relations had developed between India and China. Emperor Harshvardhan had sent an ambassador to China. Chinese silk or Chinanshuka was supplied to Western countries through the Silk Route. The Chinese Buddhist bhikkhus Yuan Shuang and Fa Hian came to India and travelled to various parts of India. Buddhism spread in China mainly due to the Indian Buddhist texts which were translated into Chinese language by Buddhist bhikkhus Dharmarakshaka and Kashyapa Matanga. Later, Buddhism also spread to Japan, Vietnam, and Korea. From the Chinese traditions, we come to know that the ancient kingdom in Cambodia was established by an Indian named Kondinya. People of this kingdom knew the Sanskrit language. Similarly, many other small kingdoms established by Indians helped to spread Indian culture in Southeast Asia. Indian culture had a deep impact on the art and cultural life of Southeast Asia. Children, do you know, even today the people in Indonesia narrate the stories based on Ramayana, Mahabharata, and other folk tales through dance, drama, and puppet shows. This influence continued to increase over the years. In the ancient period, the Buddhist religion spread to Myanmar, Thailand, Indonesia, etc. In the later years, temples of Lord Shiva and Vishnu were also built there. Let us now revise what we have learned today, reading the pages from the textbook.
Ancient India and the World. Introduction. India has a continuous history covering a very long period. Evidence of Neolithic habitation dating as far back as 7000 BC has been found in Mehergarh in Baluchistan. However, the first notable civilization flourished in India around 2700 BC in the northwestern part of the Indian subcontinent, covering a large area. What is covered in the lesson? India and the countries of the West, India and the other countries in Asia. India and the countries of the West. The culture associated with the Harappan civilization is the first known urban culture in India. The Harappans built the earliest cities. People of the Harappan civilization had developed trade relations with the countries of the West. Ever since then, India has had economic and cultural exchanges with the outside world. Hinduism underwent many changes in history. Hindu tradition even accepted Buddha as one of the incarnations of Vishnu. Later, Buddhism had spread to Afghanistan and to many countries of Central Asia. During the period of the Iranian Empire, India's contact with the Western world increased. The Greek historians of that period grew more curious about India. Their writings introduced India to the Western world. The routes which were later used by Alexander were opened for trade between India and the countries of the West. Under the influence of the Greek art of sculpture, a new form of art emerged in India during the Kushana period. It is called Gandhara School of Art. In the Gandhar art school, images of Gautama Buddha were mainly carved. As these images were mostly found in the Gandhara region of Afghanistan, the style is called the Gandhara style. The Greeks had some influence on Indian astrology as well. The facial features of the statues made in this style are similar to those of the Greek people. The early coins that were minted in India were also like Greek coins. As the Greek writers left dated records of Alexander's campaign, it helped us a great deal to frame the chronology of ancient Indian history. The date of Alexander's invasion, 326 BC, provides a definite marker for arranging the sequence of historical events in India. Around the 1st or 2nd century CE, trade between India and Rome flourished. The ports in South India also had a large share in this trade. Some articles made of bronze were found in the excavations at Kolhapur. They had been made in Rome. The excavations at Arikamedu in Tamil Nadu have also brought to light many articles made in Rome. Both these places were important centers of trade between India and Rome. Many such trade centers are mentioned in the literature of those times. Alexandria was an important port in Egypt. The Arab merchants carried Indian goods up to Alexandria. From there, they were sent to the countries in Europe. Besides Indian goods, the Arabs also conveyed Indian philosophy and science to Europe. The concept of zero is one of India's major contributions to the world. It was the Arabs who introduced this Indian concept. Do you know? From the 8th until the 15th century, they held the monopoly of European trade with the Middle East. The silk and spice trade involving spices, incense, herbs, drugs, and opium made these Mediterranean city-states phenomenally rich. India and other countries in Asia. Many countries in Asia were greatly influenced by the Indian culture of those times. Sri Lanka. Ashoka was deeply influenced by the Buddhist principles of compassion, peace, and non-violence. Ashoka had embraced Buddhism and devoted his entire life to spreading the message of Dharma in India and abroad. King Ashoka had sent his son Mahendra and daughter Sanghamitra to Sri Lanka to spread Buddhism. Their names are mentioned in the Buddhist text Mahavamsa, written in Sri Lanka. Sanghamitra carried a branch of the Bodhi tree with her. The Sri Lankan tradition believes that the Bodhi tree at Anuradhapura in Sri Lanka has grown from the same branch. There was a great demand in India for Sri Lankan pearls and other precious stones. In the 5th century CE, King Kashyap had caves dug out at a place called Sigiriya. The wall paintings in these caves bear a resemblance to the paintings in the Ajanta caves. The Sri Lankan Buddhist works Deepavamsa and Mahavamsa provide information about the close relations between India and Sri Lanka. They are written in the Pali language. China and other countries. Right from the ancient times, India and China had established trade and cultural relations. Emperor Harshavardhan had even sent an ambassador to the Chinese court. Chinese silk was known as Chinanshuka and was in great demand in India. Merchants in ancient India supplied Chinese silk to Western countries. The Silk Road was one of the first trade routes to join the Eastern and the Western worlds. The land route by which the silk trade was carried on was called the Silk Route. Some ancient places in India were connected to this route. Along the Silk Roads, technology traveled, ideas were exchanged, and friendship and understanding between East and West were experienced for the first time on a large scale. Nalasopara near Mumbai in Maharashtra was one such place. The Chinese Buddhist bhikkhus, Fahian and Yuan Shuang, also came to India through this silk route. In the 1st century CE, the Ming Emperor of China invited the Buddhist bhikkhus Dharmarakshaka and Kashyap Matanga to China. The bhikkhus translated many Indian Buddhist texts into the Chinese language. This gave impetus to the spread of Buddhism in China. Later on, Buddhism also reached Japan, Korea, and Vietnam. Countries in Southeast Asia. The ancient kingdom of Funan in Cambodia was established in the 1st century CE. Evidence is available from Chinese traditions that an Indian named Kaundinya established it. People of Funan knew the Sanskrit language. A stone inscription of that period is still in existence. It is in Sanskrit. In many other countries of Southeast Asia, too, small kingdoms established by people of Indian origin had emerged. These kingdoms helped to spread Indian culture in Southeast Asia. Indian culture had a deep impact on the art and cultural life of Southeast Asia. Dance dramas based on stories from the two Indian epics, Ramayana and Mahabharata, are popular in Indonesia even today. This influence continued to increase over the years. In the ancient period, the Buddhist religion spread to Myanmar, Thailand, Indonesia, etc. In the later years, temples of Lord Shiva and Vishnu were also built there. This year, we have reviewed Indian history from 3000 BCE to the 8th century CE. Next year, we will study the history of India from the 9th century CE to the 18th century CE. The history of this period is known as medieval history.
It's time to conclude our history class today. Children, this year we have reviewed Indian history from 3000 BCE to the 8th century CE. Now you have to complete the notes given in the PDF below. Thank you.